The sea is always right.
The sea is always right.
It's a bad prequel.
It's a prequel in the sense that allegedly
you're
these
crazy.
events
It's not a
happened.
prequel of the novels. It's a television show.
What?
Nuts, man. This is wild. I think I'm being punked. I think I might being punked.
You know what? It was bad writing. It was a bad show. We're done with it.
No, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm not
people-
getting clear definition of what you think.
There's a
prequel
contingent of people that think that the Rings of Power is a prequel to, in canon, prequel to the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson trilogy. And therefore, just like the sequel trilogy of the Star Wars movies, it fucking ruins everything about the original. I've heard people say this, they're like, I can't watch the original trilogy again, the Star Wars trilogy, because I know where it ends up, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, those people are fucking gay, but whatever. Now, these people are saying the same thing. No, they're saying the same thing about the Peter Jackson movies. Like, oh, Rings of Power is a prequel to the Peter Jackson films, therefore, now the fact that we know where it came from.
We don't care about those people. Write them off as gay. It's fine. They're stupid. I don't care.
Yeah, they're gay.
What I'm talking about is Amazon explicitly bought the rights to do a prequel to The Lord of the Rings by buying the rights to the prequel to The Lord of the Rings, and you're telling me it's not supposed to be a prequel to The Lord of the Rings.
Did they buy the rights to the Peter Jackson trilogy?
Yeah, they bought the appendices. That was the same source material that Peter Jackson's films were using because they're supposed to be an adaptation of the novels.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's not a prequel to the film trilogy. It's a prequel. It's a prequel adaptation.
The Peter Jackson films are adaptations of the novels.
Right. It's
so something isn't a prequel to one. It's not a prequel to the other.
Look, there's been 2 adaptations of The Last Airbender. The one is shitty, and the other one's coming out. They're not in the same canon universe. They're two. Same with Dune. There's been 2 adaptations of the novel.
But that's a reboot. Not a prequel.
Why wouldn't Rings of Power be considered a reboot, just starting at a different time?
So if Denis Villeneuve came out and said he's doing Dune Messiah or Children of Dune or God Emperor Dune, and was like, I'm just going to do this story, I'm going to skip Dune Part 1, you would just assume that it's a sequel to the David Lynch films? What the fuck are you talking about?
No, I'd assume it's a sequel to the part of the book that he explicitly said he wasn't going to do.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not what you're saying, because you're telling me that a prequel to a novel can't be a prequel to a television show, or indeed a movie. Which is
a question for Lofti here.
Give me an example of it happening.
Lofti.
Rings of Power.
No, give me another example.
Well, no, we're talking about Rings of Power. That's the proximate example.
Holy fuck. Are you telling me that Rings of Power is officially, yes or no, a prequel in the canon of the cinematic
What's
universe?
a prequel?
I just want to know what a prequel is. That's all.
Honestly, I don't even know what you're talking. Are you telling me that what do you mean? What is a prequel? It's like saying what's the color blue? Like what the fuck?
No, but like I just want a blanket definition. What is a prequel by your standard?
It takes place before something, and it will lead into that thing.
So, like for example, just as a wild, completely out of the blue example, Galadriel meeting Sauron and them forging the Rings of Power, which leads into the Lord of the Rings, where the Rings of Power feature.
Right.
Might just hypothetically be a prequel.
But to be fair, that leads into both the books and the Peter Jackson trilogy at the
and
same
those
time,
things
correct?
are functionally the same thing.
But they're not all canon with each other, correct?
No, incorrect. The Peter Jackson films are an attempt to put the canon of the books on film.
No, the Peter Jackson films are different. The Arwen has her whole Glorfindel fuck up.
They are an attempt.
They're different canon. You're fucking crazy.
They're not different canon. They are an attempt to put the canon of the Lord of the Rings on screen.
When you talk about a Lord of the Rings fans being strict canonists, when you say, "Oh, what the fuck?" When Peter Jackson completely obliterated the whole Tom Bombadil entire storyline, you're not saying that.
That's a really useful example, right? Because the criticism of that is that the Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson are doing canon incorrectly.
They're not
that
canon
they are not
books.
doing canon. The whole point of the film, the point of that criticism is that those films are attempting to put the books on the screen, and critics who are fans of the book said, you didn't do it properly. That does not make it not canon. That makes it a bad attempt at canon. In the same way that Rings of Power is not canon, it is a bad attempt at canon.
It's also not canon. It's also not canon.
May I interject with some nuance?
One Piece fans, please, for the love of God, One
No.
Piece fans.
Nuance, you dumbass. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That being said, I've been told that the instances are not
Name
Lord of
calling.
the Rings canon. Like, it's
What if
not-
I said?
One Piece fans in the audience, One Piece fans. Would you say that the Netflix adaptation of One Piece is canon with the fucking anime? Are you fucking no? You
I'd
would
say
agree.
it's an
You would
adaptation.
You
I
would
would
say
say
it's an adaptation. No. You would say it's a non-canon adaptation of the source.
Well, that's what an adaptation is.
Yeah.
Right.
You're adapting something for a different medium.
That's what I'm saying. Now you're agreeing with me.
Yes. Okay, so let's throw the idea. Let's throw the words reboot
Why are we
and
continuing this?
prequel out, and just say it's an adaptation.
Yes, that
That's
means
what it is.
non-canon. It's the same thing. It's
Adaptation does not mean non-canon.
Jurassic Park and Blade Runner are nothing like the original novels. They're not canon with the novels.
Yeah, because they're
They're
adaptations.
their own thing.
I'm starting to lose touch of the basic meaning of words. Adaptation does not mean non-canon. By definition, you are adapting canon.
Bro, when you have a canon,
Adapting means you take one thing from one medium and you put that thing in another medium. It doesn't mean you take one thing from one medium, then you throw it out the window, and whatever you put on the screen is irrelevant. That's not an adaptation. That's something else entirely.
Okay, there are examples though of, for example, video games that have movie adaptations or anime adaptations that are in canon, right? That are in canon with the story.
But what? Okay. Would you call that an adaptation, though? If it's just a continuation of the story?
Like, for example, right? You have... No, actually, I don't even know. Maybe this is... What do we know if the Star Wars Visions anime is supposed to be canon? It's canon. Okay. So that's an example of... Are we sure about that? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an example of a canonical. Well, that's a bad example. Like Clone Wars cartoon is probably a better example, right? So the Clone Wars cartoon is a canon adaptation in a different medium that connects with the original source material in a way that everything's canon, everything flows, right? Everything flows.
Well, it doesn't, but that's because they don't do canon correctly, which is kind of the point.
No, but when you talk about, guys, when we're talking about the Lord of the Rings canon, nobody's referencing the movies. Nobody's referencing The Hobbit. Nobody's referencing Peter Jackson. We're talking about Tolkien's canon. Canon. Tolkien
in the same way as with the Clone Wars, you're referencing George Lucas's canon.
But Tolkien has a finite canon. Peter Jackson is not canonical with Tolkien. It's complete. It's an adaptation.
Yeah, an adaptation of canon.
Yeah, but
this is what an adaptation is.
I feel like
an adaptation is
just... He doesn't know what a round Earth is.
Okay, fine. An adaptation is quite literally in terms of the actual meaning of words. An adaptation is you are taking one thing in a medium and you are putting the same thing in a different medium.
Bro, let me ask you.
You can do it badly, in which case it's a bad adaptation of canon.
Is Aragorn the same Arwen in the Tolkien canon and the Peter Jackson canon? Are they the same? Are they the same Arwen?
No, they're not, because that's the whole point of the criticism of the Lord of the Rings by diehard book fans, is that they don't do canon correctly, not that they're not doing canon.
Even if they name one example. Oh, fuck. Name an example of anything ever that has adapted it to screen that is in canon with the original source material.
You are confusing canon with 1-to-1 absolute 100% fidelity with the source of your adaptation.
It's important that we establish canon.
Sequels,
in terms of nerd culture.
by your argument, most sequels are not canon, including the Star Wars original trilogy, for example. When there are plenty of events in Return of the Jedi which conflict with the events of Empire Strikes Back. You're not going to tell me, though, I hope, that Return of the Jedi isn't canon.
No.
Oh my God, we're still on this.
No.
Okay.
If you make a sequel, like all of the, like for example, every Lord of the Rings book is a sequel. Like so is The Hobbit, and so is like those are all in canon. Like we have a Tolkienian canon. Can we agree on this?
Which the Peter Jackson films were adapting.
Yes, but it's not part of the same canon. It's creating its own.
No, that's oh god.
I feel like this could be explained really easily if we had like an
adaptation.
MS Paint diagram.
An adaptation is an attempt to do as close as possible a one-to-one transposition of the canon of one medium.
But it's automatically
to the
a
other
different
medium.
canon. It's automatically
It's not automatically a different canon. No.
Yes.
It's not, because you're confusing the plain meaning of the word adaptation.
Jurassic Park is a different Jurassic Park than the novel, right? They're two different things. The Jurassic Park novels have their own canon. They have their own storyline. They have their own character consistency. They have their own universe. Same with like anyway, the Dark Knight. The Dark Tower. Any like Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia. When you get into film and television adaptations, they create their own alternate universe, parallel universe.
Not
canon.
always and not necessarily.
Yes.
You're making
Yes.
you're making
Yes.
you're making it's not the case.
I don't even know what you're talking about, dude.
The difference
make any
between an
sense.
adaptation and something that isn't an adaptation. It's not that hard.
So when you have a contradiction, like Arwen summoning the water horses instead of Glorfindel and Elrond and Gandalf, what's canon and what's not canon? Give me the definitive canon versus the definitive not canon.
The definitive canon in that because the films are an adaptation
canon?
of the books. I'm answering the question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because the films are an adaptation of the books are the definitive canon.
Yes.
There is, however, a difference between poorly adapting canon and doing something which is not canonical. You can criticize the Peter Jackson films for not doing canon correctly.
Bro.
That is not to say that they are not aspiring to the same canon. This is not a hard point to get your head around.
No, they're aspiring aesthetically. I understand.
It's not aspiring aesthetically. They're aspiring in terms of fidelity to plot, story, and character as well.
You can't give me a single example ever of anything doing canon 1-to-1. It just doesn't exist.
Because I don't need to, because I said earlier that the point of criticizing something which fails to adapt canon is that it's failing to adapt canon, not that it is not canonical.
But it's not canonical. If we have anything, as a fan of something, we have to understand. We have to all be in agreement of what is canonical and what is not canonical. If something falls out of the canon, outside of the canon, that is not canonical, it's not canonical.
Are the Peter Jackson films more or less canonical than Rings of Power?
No, they are a very accurate parallel world.
They're not a fucking fuck me.
Yes, they are.
Oh my goodness! How
I feel
hard
like
you
we're
work
going
to
in
avoid the
endless
point.
circles here.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going in.
Wait, I'm
endless-
not working. They're not canon with the books, dude.
I think I've probably exhausted this point between the difference between poorly adapting canon and not being canonical. I'm happy to let that stand, and it's coming up to 6:30 a.m. So
yes,
unless there's
we
anything
got
else
to
you need
get
to
out
add.
of here. Yes, absolutely.
We're just gonna have to agree to disagree. Like this is just too crazy.
We're gonna have to have a third fight.
We don't have to do that
That's
because
right.
I'm just right logically and etymologically, but you can
Well,
disagree.
I'm
if you
right
like,
logically and etymologically as well. So like, I can say a big word.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's set up the date. Fight night.
Let's. We need to let Mr. Platoon go get some sleep. So as much fun as this is, and I keep it going all night, and at this point now, especially, we gotta call it a night. We'll have everyone back. If
I
they
got
like to come
chat
back.
support. That's all I got to say.
You know, Flaccid has your back like last time. Way
True,
back.
and I have your back because
Yeah.
I am flaccid.
You performed much better than he did. You actually talked.
I did. Listen.
This is where we need backdoor Gary to bring it full circle.
We're talking about Barbie. You're talking about Rings of Power. What the fuck is this about?
Listen, it's like last
Yeah, the
time
Rings
we
of
talked
Power
about
was what
Top and
brought up the fight.
Hey, Rings
I
of Power
don't
is
even know why
being,
I'm here. I have no idea why I'm here anymore.
Me neither. I just wanted to troll.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Get my popcorn.
Yes, it's time. I kept you guys late already, and plus I was late to start, so that's all on me. I apologize for that to the chat and to especially the panelists who were so patient, hanging out here, waiting for the show to get going. And a little Platoon, you're early morning there now, so we need to get you out of here.
Nocturnal.
The annoying thing is I would happily stay up and carry on. It's just I think I shouldn't because I really do. Like, theoretically, people need sleep.
Theoretically.
Theoretically. Such a British thing to say.
Yeah, but you're not a person, so it's fine.
I'm not tired. I actually want to carry this going. I really think I should be in bed.
Nocturnal animals need sleep. We have to be aware of this.
Listen, just take a drag on your cigarette and you'll be fine.
I've been doing that all damn evening.
Well, crack open another pack, baby.
We can definitely run this back again in the future.
No, I don't want to.
no, let's do it, Lofty, for sure.
No.
This is fun.
I like semantic arguments.
This is good
it's so
stuff.
cringe. Oh God.
No, this is fun.